I literally just hit record again. We're going straight through this. This was such a good one. Okay. And then I'll have to stop here and read a little more for the next ones. But chapter 9, detailed breakdown. When winning feels wrong. Okay. Yeah. Right. Some people are like, what are you talking about? All right. Just listen to the man. All right. Let's go through this. Hougaard explores the paradox that arises when winning trades feel uncomfortable, even when wrong. Or even wrong, sorry. So they feel uncomfortable and they feel wrong, but they're not. So this counterintuitive experience is common among traders who are rewiring their brains. This is where I'm at with some of my stuff, guys. I am currently still rewiring. Some things I've rewired. Okay. I don't move my stop. I talked about it in the last couple of videos. I just don't. And it doesn't feel wrong to me. I'm like, let it get punched. I don't care. Right. It wasn't always like that. I promise you. Okay. And I have current things right now. I still have a hard time holding trades for a very long time because I like when I get past that, 1 to 2.5 to 1 to 3, 1 to 4, 1 to 5, I'm like, this is such good profit. I'll close a trade. Now, that has helped to keep me profitable. But anyway, so let's talk about this. So if you do feel this, especially when you're like, let me apply what he's teaching me to my trading, okay? Then you're gonna feel this. It's gonna happen. Whenever I've approached different things that I'm rewiring, I've felt this way. I feel this way now, and I'm sure I have things in the future I'm gonna feel that way about it when I get to it. All right. Winning while focusing on a process that goes against emotional instincts. Okay. Guys, you got to recognize our instincts are real. Okay. The emotional ones, all right. They can feel unnatural because it is unnatural to the brain's default wiring. So if you are trying to rewire, it's going to feel awkward. Okay. He explains that many traders sabotage winning trades by exiting too early or doubting their setups, especially if they've experienced prior losses. So, to explain this, all right, here's a great example. I used to be a reversal trader. Okay. I traded divergences like a maniac. So, I was used to catching the tops and bottoms. Problem is, you guys understand how hard that is, right? And then, I get into this other stuff and they're like, oh, well, don't you want confirmation like displacement, fair value gaps, breakaway gaps, and blah, blah. I'm like, what? You want me to wait? It was so hard for me. It was so hard for me. But instead of the market moving up, I took a short, get wrecked, moved up, took a short, get wrecked, moved up, took a short, got the short, made profit. Okay, that was pretty normal. Okay, and I did control my R&R to where I'd still be profitable. But now it's like moved up, look to take a short, never get the entry. Moved up, look to take a short, just never got the entry. Third, finally, oh, there's that entry. There's the displacement. There's the fair value gap. There's the retracement, the fair value gap. There's my entry. Boom. Now I take that third trade that was profitable without the two losses. Okay. When I first started that, it was so uncomfortable. I felt like I was missing things. You want to talk about dealing with FOMO? Going from a reversal trader to someone who actually waits for the trend to say, hey, I'm changing. It was like, hey, it was difficult. And sometimes I feel it a little bit, but I'm telling you, it's like 90% better. Okay. So he explains that many traders sabotage winning trades by exiting too early or doubting their setups, especially when they've experienced prior losses. This is rooted in fear and discomfort with unfamiliar success. So when you're entering a new territory and you are changing the way you trade, okay, there's some things you probably need to tell yourself. If you are unprofitable and you're trying to make changes, say, I'm unprofitable. I need to become uncomfortable so I can find a change that will lead me to profitability, right? Because if you're unprofitable, you're already unprofitable. Who cares? Make some changes, right? So know that this unfamiliar feeling and the discomfort you're going to feel is going to be normal. It's not going to feel normal, but it's going to be normal. The challenge is to push through this discomfort until disciplined execution feels normal. It feels normal. If I were to move my stop loss today, I would close the trade and be like, what was that? That's weird. I moved my stop. I never move my stop. And I know I'm going to say this out loud and then I'm going to go have an ego trip and move my stop loss in the next week or two. So, whatever. But it's very unusual for me. And Hougaard emphasizes that success in trading doesn't feel like success in other professions. It often feels emotionally unsettling. And the key is to trust the system and not the feelings. Okay. That is so important. The key is to trust the system and not your feelings. So if you can't, all right, you could wake me up at 2 a.m. and go, hey, Chijako, wake up, bro. Yeah, what's up, man? What'd you wake me up for? What's your process? What do you mean? In your day trading, NQ, usually between 8 and 9:30 in the morning, I look for time-based liquidity to be swept, and then I look for a fair value gap in one direction or the other, and then I'll take an entry if I get through, blah 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 blah. Like I'll spit it out at like 2:30 in the morning because I am comfortable with my system. Okay, but sometimes even today when I trade, my feelings aren't right. I had one today that I closed a little early because I could feel it. I could feel the attachment to the unrealized gains, which I knew was not good. So I closed the trade early. Wait, I think it was yesterday. Yeah, it was yesterday. Sorry, yesterday. Today I closed because the R&R was just fantastic, and I was like, perfect. This is what I needed. Boom, took it. But I missed out on not a ton, but I missed out on quite a bit of profits yesterday because of the way I was feeling. And I recognized that and I journaled it and I was like, okay, that's cool. I'll work on that. There's still things that I'm working on. Traders must build familiarity. I don't even know if I can say that right. With emotional discomfort and learn to recognize that discomfort doesn't mean something is wrong. Okay. A lot of people study so they can look at the market, make the predictions, and feel good about it all the time. I've never met anybody who's done that. I mean, like I told you guys, I have a personal connection with quite a few 7-figure traders, and they're not comfortable. Sometimes, even to this day, they're still like, they deal with the same emotions. It's just usually on a less exaggerated scale, right? Where a lot of us are like, boom, 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 boom. They're just like, just a little bit, they're much more centered, and that's because they've done this so long and they're familiar with the emotional discomfort, right? And so they've learned to recognize it, and they know that it's just the way they feel. It doesn't mean that something's wrong. So, and if you are rewiring, it often means that something is actually working. Okay, think about this. If you're not profitable and you start to apply these principles that he's talking about in his book and you start to feel uncomfortable, that means it might be working, right? Because in your comfort, you weren't profitable. So might as well make yourself uncomfortable and work towards profitability and learn from someone who legit knows what they're doing, right? Like some random YouTuber like me. I'm kidding. Tom Hougaard, Jared Tendler. Go there, start there. Anyway, so let's move on. Study guide, applications in day trading, self-reflection prompts. Have I ever cut a winner short because I felt nervous? I just told a story about it. I legit just did that the other day. Now, it wasn't quite short because I think I was at like a 2.7R or something. So it was good. But it's like, I guess this is where a little bit of my gut was telling me we're going to go higher, and we did. But I was feeling super nervous, and I was super attached to the unrealized profits, and I didn't want to lose them. That's where I just cut the trade. I was like, okay, I don't want to be emotional. Let me just cut it and be done. All right. So have you ever cut a winner short because you felt nervous and you wanted to end the uncomfortable thought of this is going to reverse and hit my stop loss, but you cut it early? Think about it. All right. And then it just goes to your profit and you're like, oh, just gave away $500. All right. Does winning ever feel like luck instead of execution? Sure. All right. These are the kinds of things you need to ask yourself and work with. Am I comfortable? Am I comfortable with the feeling of letting winners run? When you read Market Wizards, this is one of the biggest things that these guys talk about. These multimillionaires. Now they're more talking about like, holding Microsoft stock and like holding it through the entire bull market. But if you if you play that out in context and you're an intraday trader, like I am on this channel, right? And I do other investments, I do other bag holding and swing trading and stuff like that, of course. But when it comes to prop firms, I can't hold all day. Or I'm sorry, I can't hold multiple days. So am I going to take a 10-minute trade or am I going to try and let it run all day? And I think that there's a balance in this. And I don't want to say you need to let winners run. You need to have a process of how you trail a stop loss correctly, structurally. Okay. Not just random. But let's just say you're in profit and the structure is just bullish. We haven't had any bearish TA print whatsoever. Any bearish price action. Sorry, not TA. No bearish. Are you comfortable holding your winner, or are you feeling uncomfortable because you feel like all those profits are going to be taken from you? Okay, stuff I deal with even today. All right, practical applications for day traders. Here we go. Normalize uncomfortable wins. Keep a record of how you felt. Everybody's favorite word, feelings. Let's talk about your feelings. All right, during a winning trade. Okay, this is important. Just as much as you need to look at your winners, you need to look at your losers, you need to look at your winners. It's not always figuring out how could I have made this losing trade a winning trade. A lot of times it's, did I manage my winning trade appropriately to maximize profit? Not greedy, but like I said, if there's not a single bearish price action, am I just taking profit at 1 to 2 so I can get the W and walk away? I don't know. If your process is take it at 1 to 2 every time without fail, then that's what you need to follow. I know people who do that and they do well. All right. So you need to follow your process. But I'm just saying, keep a record of how you feel. Trust the process, not the emotion. Don't trust yourself emotionally. If you're feeling emotionally distraught, go back to your process. If you can't root yourself and ground yourself in your process, then you need to figure out your process. Like I said, I think it was this video or last video, whatever. If you wake me up at 2 a.m., I can spit out my process of how I trade. Okay? Because I trust my process. I do not trust my emotion. When I get emotional, I'll walk away. I'll be done. I will be done. Okay? And that's just me. I've learned that I'm an emotional trader. That's why I focus on this. That's why I have such a heart to reach out to people to help them with this. I'm an emotional trader. As soon as that emotion kicks in, I'm done. I've shared a W and I felt the emotion, because I was like, yeah, look at me. Not good. Not good. Don't look at me. Okay? Look at you. You look at you, I'll look at me, and together we'll trade well. All right? Journal when the following plan felt wrong but worked. This is important. Okay? Because if you haven't rewired your brain yet, it's going to feel wrong. But journal it, because if it works, it works, right? This is Hougaard talking. This is not random YouTuber. Hold winners longer. Use partial take profits, but trail remainder by structure, not emotion. This is important, and I think this gets into a very touchy subject. I'm not very fond of partial take profits. I'm more of like, if I'm trading 7, micros, and it pumps and it gets past my 1 to 2, because I don't even like touching profits until I'm past my 1 to 2 ratio, right? Then maybe I'll take 5 and it leaves 2, because I really want to lock in that 1 to 2 plus. Now, like I said, I tend to use like, where is my next point of liquidity? I'm using structure. I'm not just using my feelings, to do take profits. But take profits need to be a part of your process, and you need to know how you're going to treat a winning trade. Okay? Because I do believe holding winners can cover so many losses and can help so many people. All right. And the day like not yesterday, or yeah, yesterday, a day like yesterday can cover 3, 4 losses, you know? So it's important. All right. Train emotional familiarity. That's quite the word. Repeatedly experience winning via rules until it feels normal. This is where I'm at. This is what I'm doing. I want to win via my rules and make it feel normal. For the most part, it feels pretty normal, but I still get the emotions that leak out, right? But I want to get to this to where trading feels almost boring. To me, it's not boring yet. I mean, it can be sometimes, to be honest, because it's like, well, I'm outside my normal trading hours and I'm looking at the market and I'm like, oh, it looks like a good setup, but it's not my process, so I don't do it. So I guess that part's, you know, boring. But during my couple hours that I trade, it's still exciting to me, you know? All right, review past success honestly. This is huge. This is so huge, okay? Be honest with yourself. Study trades where discomfort led to success to build belief. So, this is where the feelings part comes in. When you're feeling discomfort, you know, write it down and you know, if you guys could just video vlog. Like a lot of times that's what I do, you know. Um and I like talk to myself by looking at the trade, right? I don't like always necessarily record it. Sometimes I do. But um then you like, you know, live like how you're feeling. You know, I should almost just live trade, which I don't think I could emotionally handle, to be honest. I think it would send me down a losing path because I would start making emotions based on how many people are watching me. You know, I would feel the pressure, and I don't need any extra pressure. I'm profitable. I want to stay that way, right? Maybe when I get to the point where it's just like I'm so bored, I need more excitement. I'll do something like that. But you know, study the trades where discomfort led to success to build belief. So that way you're like, man, I remember that trade. It felt weird, but I held to the winners and I waited for bearish price action to actually print, and I did really good. You can review that to start to build belief in yourself. All right. So let's get into the action steps for this week. All right. Let's identify the moment when winning trades feel hardest to hold. Figure that out and figure out why, right? Write down what you're thinking, you know, journal it and talk about it with yourself. Create a mantra. Discomfort doesn't mean I'm wrong. Seriously, if you're uncomfortable, it doesn't mean you're wrong. It actually might mean you're doing something. All right. Log 5 winning trades and how you felt throughout. This is huge. I started doing this and it made such a difference of understanding how I was feeling during a winning trade. We always focus on the losers. Losers get all the attention, right? But if you can give the same amount of attention to your winning trades and you can make your winners better, and then you can identify what a winning trade is and looks like, and it followed, you know, like you give more attention to your winners, you're going to see your winners more, right? You're going to, you know, you're going to make your winners better. And then last, review, are you exiting early from discomfort or a signal? Okay. This is all about your process, guys. Some people have like 1 to 2, boom, they're out. 1 to 3, boom, they're out. They're done. Okay. So I get this. All right. But this right here, I did this just, you know, I think I said yesterday. I was just uncomfortable. I was done. I just felt the emotion. And so because I was in good profit, I closed the trade and was like, good. All right, walk away. All right. But I was discomfort. You know, I didn't feel comfortable. So this is really important. You know, take this journaling stuff seriously. All right, final quote. When success feels wrong, you're on the verge of change. All right. You guys can do this. I'm telling you. I promise you, if I can do this and find any kind of success at all in this, you guys can. You guys do not understand my struggle. My struggle was real. Okay. For real struggle. All right. So when success feels wrong, you're on the verge of change. I hope this video has been helpful. I hope this has been as encouraging to you as it is me. Share it out. far and wide. Let's get 2 people in here to give it a thumbs up. And you guys can download this study guide and practice and learn and journal and think about your feelings and get your little kindergarten chart out and give yourself gold stars and red cards. And you're going to become a better day trader because of it. See you in the next one.